Welcome back to my channel. Today I am making birria. I start by removing the stems, seeds, and veins from 4 dried guajillo chiles, 2 dried ancho chiles, and softening them in hot water. I had to add a little weight to the top to keep the chiles submerged and let them sit for about 20 minutes. Next, I cut a tomato into quarters and do the same to a large onion. I just noticed how dull this knife is. As I said, I cut the onion into quarters and smash open about 6 cloves of garlic. I put the whole tomato in the blender, half the onion, all the garlic, 1 teaspoon of ground cumin, 1 teaspoon of ginger, dried oregano, and dried thyme. Since the chiles are still not softened, I start to prep the meat. I used about 2.5 pounds of chuck roast, stupid dull knife, and cut it into 4 pieces. Next, I season the meat with salt. I know it seems like I'm not using enough salt, but trust me, I salted the heck out of this meat. White pepper and fresh ground black pepper. Make sure all sides are well seasoned and start heating up a bottom-heavy pot or a Dutch oven. Now that the chiles are softened, I add the water and chiles in the blender and blend it until smooth. The pot is now ready, so I put the meat in. I want it to get browned on all sides. I know the meat is ready to turn when it no longer sticks to the pot. After all sides are browned, I add 2 bay leaves, the other half of the onion, the sauce, 2 cups of beef broth, stir a little bit, and bring to a boil. Once it starts to boil, I move it to the back burner and lower the flame to let the meat simmer with the lid on for 90 minutes. While the meat simmers, I dice up some onion, had to cut it in half for safety, and then set it aside. Next, I rinse and chop up cilantro and set that aside with the onion. It's been 90 minutes, so time to check on the meat. I squeezed it with the tongs first and then tried to shred it with the fork. It looks like it's still a little too tough, so I will let it simmer for another 30 minutes and check it again. It's been 30 minutes and it looks like the meat is ready, so I'm going to set it on the cutting board to shred. I also discarded the onion and bay leaves from the pot. You don't want to eat that. I started shredding the meat with the 2-fork method, but honestly, the meat was so tender that I was able to put on some gloves and just tear it apart by hand. Once all the meat was shredded, I put it back in the pot. Now for the best part, making a quesabirria taco. First, I dip a corn tortilla in the oil that is sitting on top and lay it on the hot griddle. Add some shredded cheese. I use queso quesadilla, but any melting cheese will do. And then add the meat with the tongs. I let the tortilla get a little crispy and fold. Once both sides of the tortilla are nice and crispy, I plate the tacos and garnish with a little cilantro, onion, some lime, the salsa that I just made. Video for that should be in the shorts. Sprinkle a little salt. And look at that deliciousness. Thanks for watching.